Hi, Kim Rayner here. Welcome to episode 45 of All About Spirits, Life After Cancer. And there's a ruckus going on over there with squirrels chasing each other. Sorry, distracted. Today's episode is episode 45 of All About Spirits, Life After Cancer, and it's titled Prayer, Meditation, and Surviving Cancer. And I chose that title today. It was really inspired based on a prayer request that I sent out this morning to a gratitude group that I belong to. And prayer requests and gratitude groups are really a big part of my life. I belong to a couple of them. And it got me thinking about that time in my journey, that place in my journey where I was the one that was on people's prayer requests and people were lighting candles for me, and I was in the process of trying to make sense about what was going on in my life and just trying to navigate and figure all of that stuff out. Okay, there's a deer that just walked past me. This is truly a wildlife morning. So that part of my journey, that whole idea of prayer and meditation and surviving, what does that stuff really mean? And I made a decision long before I had a cancer diagnosis that everything that goes on in my life happens for a reason. And that idea really became the cornerstone of my life. And I believe that with every fiber of my being. And it's something that helped me make sense out of what was going on in a world that sometimes doesn't seem to make much sense. And I always look at it like, okay, I have something that I'm supposed to learn from this. I have something that I'm supposed to take away from this. And that's been really, really helpful for me. The other thing that it's given me has been the opportunity to step out of being a victim and to really honestly and truthfully be able to take life as life comes. And that's been huge for me because life happens. If you stay around long enough, you're going to get your turn in the barrel, as I like to say. Something's going to happen and you're going to have to find a way to deal with it. So as I started looking at this topic and started thinking about, okay, where do I want to go with this morning's show? This was going to be just one episode called, prayer, meditation, and surviving cancer. And as I started poking around, I realized, this is a really big topic. So I'm actually going to break it up into 3 segments. So this is the first part of a 3-part series. And because these words can really be emotionally charged for some people. And, prayer especially is one of those words. So I thought, okay, well, I'll start with actually defining the word pray. So we have some common ground to look at and unpack. Okay, well, what exactly does that mean? So I looked at Merriam-Webster, and the definitions that I came up with were to entreat or implore, to get or bring about by praying, to make a request in a humble manner, or to address God with a capital G or God with a small g, with adoration, confession, supplication, or thanksgiving. And when I thought about that, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? That absolutely takes me back to my journey and my time when people were praying for me. One of the things that was really a big deal for me was, how are people praying for me? And that ties into the first 2 definitions, that entreat or implore or bring about by praying. Those 2 definitions. There's something in that for me that felt like control if somebody was praying that I be healed completely, or they were praying that I return back to life as it used to be. There was this part of me that felt like, okay, well, what if that's not God's will? What if God's will is something different? And how do I not let my prayers or other people's prayers get mixed in with God's will? So there was a way that sometimes when people prayed for me, it's like, okay, well, what are you saying? I wanted to ask that question. What are you praying? What are you praying for? What are you asking God to do on my behalf? And because I really believe, and it has to do with that everything happens for a reason part, I really believe that my job is to deal with life as it comes, so I don't want to be interfering with what I'm supposed to be learning about. I don't want to be interfering with what I'm supposed to be be practicing in this experience, whatever that might be. So if people were praying that, my life is going to return back to what it used to be, I would kindly ask them, well, can you do me a favor and just pray for God's will for me, whatever that is? And that started me thinking about, well, what does it really mean when somebody says, I'll pray for you? What do you mean by that when you say, I'll pray for you? And so that really brought me to the next thing, which says to make a request in a humble manner. And for me, that whole making a request in that humble manner is knowing that I am not the person that's in charge. I am not the person that is responsible for making things happen or not happen in a certain way. It's that I be given I would pray for the courage or the strength or the wisdom or the fortitude to be able to handle whatever it is that's next to come. I might pray that all of the people who are involved in this are dealt with kindness and compassion, and they are knowing that they're cared about at the end of the experience. I might ask for their will to be aligned with God's will, and that they be given whatever they need to process the information and to do exactly what's supposed to be done as it's supposed to be done in harmony with the divine plan. So there's this way that praying for me really has become a alignment, if you will, of my will with God's will. It's a way for me to step into relationship and in partnership with God. So the whole praying piece, it's like it opens the door. Praying, I heard somewhere along the lines, is me asking. It's me inviting God in. It's me opening the door. It's the petition. It's the opening of the channel. It's the connecting to all that is. So praying is really the invitation to start the process. So the last or the fourth definition of pray is to address God in adoration, confession, supplication, and thanksgiving. So adoration is really honoring the sacred for me. It is honoring and recognizing what is sacred in this world. And then the confession part is speaking the truth about who I am and where I am and where, excuse me, and where, what is my responsibility in this process. And supplicate is for me to remain humble in the process, to remember that my role is as a trusted servant. My role is as, boots on the ground. My role is for me to be right-sized in this process. And then the prayer of thanksgiving part is to be in gratitude for whatever it is that I've got going on, to be in gratitude for my life as my life is existing right now. There's a park worker going by. So that whole package of addressing God, how do I address God in prayer? And what is it that I'm addressing God for? So for me, the prayer part, I feel like I can't get into trouble if I'm asking to align my will with God's will. So when I pray for somebody, which is what I did this morning, I prayed for my friend, actually for my friend's son, and the doctors who are attending to him and all of the people who are involved in this process. My prayer really was, I pray that the hands that are treating you are connected to God. And I pray that the people who are working with you and dealing with you are connected to God as you understand God. And I pray that whatever the outcome is aligned with God's will, and that the people who are participating learn what they need to learn and address what they need to address, and are better at the end of the experience than they are when they are going into it. And I really do try to keep my control out of it. I try to keep my my desires out of the way. And, sometimes depending on how big the stakes are, I do better than other times. So what I know is that when I come to prayer, in a sincere and open-hearted way, I can't do it wrong. I can't do it wrong. And I'm grateful for that knowledge. So if you have people that you're praying for, I also know that prayer in partnership with somebody else helps to make it stronger. I have a partner that I do prayer with on a very frequent basis, and our prayers are always stronger. We talk about it all the time. Our prayers are always stronger when we do it in communion with somebody else. And so my invitation to you is, if you don't have a regular prayer practice, and it doesn't matter what you believe spiritually, how you perceive God, what you think God is, how you navigate or talk to God, prayer is really the dialogue that opens the door. It's the opportunity to invite God into the process. It's the beginning step for me. So my invitation for you is, if you're not already a regular practicer of prayer, to give it a shot and see how it works for you. The other thing that I want to mention about prayer is that I really don't pray for specific outcomes. I don't ask God to heal me. I don't ask God to heal other people. I don't ask God for money. I don't ask God for I don't ask God for things like that. I don't use God as a pinch hitter for me when my life is feeling crummy. I really do pray that my will aligns with God's will. And prayer has been a huge part of my cancer journey. It's been a huge part of my story, and I hope that you find a way to commune with God, or that you find a way to communicate with God as you understand God, whatever that might look like, whatever that might be. And so this is the prayer part of the 3-part series. I hope that you found something in here that's useful and helpful to you. And if you did, I hope that you like and share this episode. And also, I'm going to remind you that I am doing my project of 1,000 cancer survivor stories, where I'm collecting 1,000 cancer survivor stories to be used in my book, and perhaps be used on my website as my website prepares to go live. I'm collecting stories for that as well. So if you are a survivor, or you know somebody who has survived cancer, or you've walked with somebody as they've gone through the cancer journey, I hope you invite them to share their story at 1,000 Cancer Survivor Stories at allaboutspirit.com. And you can like this on Facebook. You can join me on my website. It's getting closer and closer to the final live. And I hope you found something in this show that's useful. And until we have a chance to talk, I hope that life treats you well. Thanks for being here today, and make it a great day.